Good morning. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a strange morning. Oof. Namo Myo Renge Kyo. How are you? I hope you're in good health. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support, liking and subscribing to expand this Sangha online. A bit of a bodhisattva effort, so thank you for that. Before we start the 4 debts of gratitude, which, we're in the last handful of letters collected in this book, Nichiren On Karma. Well, all of these are valuable, of course, but in light of karma, I want to start out by answering some questions that in my recent Q&A I forgot to answer. With relation to the meditations in Gangyo. There's a statement in there on the hidden in the depths of the Honmon, right, of the Lotus Sutra. And that term Honmon, what is that? We've read about it in different letters of Nichiren's. It's nothing unusual. Honmon simply refers to the intellectual, the academic divisions of the Lotus Sutra. So, just to break it down so you understand, the Lotus Sutra is a collection of sermons, right? Each chapter is in itself a sermon. And the collection, the Lotus Teachings, is a period of teaching, right? That has, because this is the way we teach one another, or we talk about concepts together so we can all learn at the same time. We have introductions to certain kinds of thought. In this case would be the Innumerable Meanings Sutra, the Ovation Sutra to the actual Lotus Sutra proper. But you could actually consider this is why this school is called the Threefold Lotus, right? Because the first fold, if you will, is the 3 chapters of the Innumerable Meanings Sutra, which really is a sutra that sets up the thinking. It's like if you went to university and you wanted to pursue, I don't know, remote control aircraft design and flight, and there's all these different aspects of remote control planes, okay? So the first course as a prerequisite that you might take could be called Introduction to Remote Control Aircraft, right? So that's the Innumerable Meanings Sutra. And then there would be several sermons that would explore the nature and the concerns of what it is not only to have a remote control aircraft, but what are the rules? What are the way to build one? What are the way to control one? What different kinds of controllers are there? What are all the parameters of setting about in the world of remote control aircraft? And then at some point, that's going to transfer into, or that's going to move into, right, we take RC 101, 102, 103, right? And then maybe that's all you do, but at some point, you're going to go into the 201, 202, 203 classes, where now you have a good depth of knowledge about what this RC aircraft's business is all about, and maybe that's all you want to know, but if you really want to understand RC aircraft now, we're going to get more into the design of the RC aircraft, how it's different from commercial aircraft, how it's different, how it's specifically, what are its finer points and its more critical points of an effective design, an effective control, how many servos are really required to achieve a certain depth of operability and maneuverability and so on and so forth. So that by the time you're done with all of those classes. You know this subject inside and out, whether you want to build planes or just fly them or design them. Right now you have well-rounded totality of information about remote control aircraft, and you might have, like, at the end of to get your degree, you might have a class. This doesn't happen much in university. There's no real wrap up. That's kind of the last class, right? But in the scope of Buddhist teachings, sometimes, not always, there's a wrap up kind of chapter, or even a separate sutra, like a meditation on what we've learned, right? Universal worthy in this case, being that third, the closing, if you will, of that period of teaching, the entirety of that scholarship. And in the case of the Lotus Sutra, there are two main motifs that we run into. With Nichiren is basically the instructional teachings. The word escapes me right now. The first half of the Lotus Sutra chapters, the sermons, Nichiren identifies as setting up the framework for really understanding this new method. And with the second half, the second 14 chapters of the Lotus Sutra, Nichiren identifies within it the essential, the core. Now you know how to do it. Now you know what we're talking about. Now let's talk about actually performing it and understanding it. Because you have this preparatory knowledge now, the provisional part of the Lotus Sutra, you now will grasp the depth, the profundity of what we're doing with this methodology. And for Nichiren, there's a lot of specificity to the lifespan chapter as the great big essential moment in that second part, the essential part of the Lotus Sutra, right? For some other scholars, the Lotus Sutra is actually divided into 3 parts. But without getting in all that, the term Honmon, which is the question here, and the depths of the secrets contained or hidden in the Honmon, that's just a flowery way or a hyperbolic way of saying that on cursory reading of the second part, the essential part of the teachings of the Lotus sermons, once again, it's easy to get lost in the wordplay and the teaching as a story, and not dive deeply into the meaning. What is being actually said here? When Shakyamuni says to everyone, "You guys think I was born in this world and attained to Buddhahood, and that so Buddhahood started with me, basically, as a human, but you don't understand. The Buddhahood that I've been talking about as myself in the first person, because that's how you guys learn anything, is actually a state, a mental state that's always being. As long as there's a sentient mind, that mental state of observation has always been available, because the foundation of what that Buddha-ness obviates is the universe itself. It's the engine of life. It's the state of all phenomena. The only thing that we're doing in this methodology is awakening ourselves to, oh yeah, I can actually perceive it, see it, be part of it, observe it as it happens. And by doing so, I can obliterate all this other artifice that I've built about life, from which all my suffering comes, right? Makes sense? So Honmon is a word that references the essential parts of the Lotus Method, those chapters, those sermons that are the most profound. And what's hidden in them isn't hidden so much as it's our samsaric mind that hides it. that what we need to do, and the reason it's called hidden, is because pay attention here. You need to really look and understand the meaning. So it's not hidden like, you can't see this. It's hidden because we are in our own way, once again. Yeah? So that's what that's about. The one vehicle, Myoho Renge-kyo, hidden in the depths. I've already answered that. Meaning, insight, sentient experience. All of that is Buddha wisdom. Yeah, you get the terminologies are varied, but they're all talking about the same thing. Buddha wisdom is clear mind, MTM, moment-to-moment truth, right? That experience of what's actually going on here. Yeah? So, anyway, I wanted to make sure I talked about that, even though it's not in the context of the Q&A. Those are hanging questions that many practitioners have about the rhetoric in the meditations. What is going on today? I guess it's physical challenge day today. Namo Myoho Renge-kyo. All right, the 4 debts of gratitude. What is that about? Page turning karma. Concerning my present exile. So Nichiren is writing this from one of his exiles, right? There are 2 important matters that I must mention. One is that I feel immense joy, right? Most of his followers, if not all, were very concerned when he was shipped off to die, basically, about his well-being. And more to the point, probably, even though they didn't talk about this specifically, was what was his frame of mind? Because their frame of mind certainly was being challenged, right? Wouldn't you have a lot of doubts? If the person you were following, and again, we're following the law, not the person, so let me just say that. But they were committed to what they perceived as their mentor, their teacher, just as he is for us, Bodhisattva Nichiren. The authorities are trying to have him beheaded, have him go off and die on some remote island. Wouldn't you start having doubts about whether you should be following this guy, or whether maybe you have no doubts about that? He is our guiding mentor, the understanding of Shakyamuni Buddha and Buddhism and our enlightenment. What's going to happen? Are we going to lose him? I'm not done learning, right? All kinds of concerns like that, right? So here comes a letter back, a note back saying, I feel immense joy. Now you might say, oh, good, he's in a good state of mind, but he's enlightened. If he dies tomorrow, he feels fine about it because he's doing the work. That's not a real warm fuzzy for me, though, right? So he's addressing his followers, and whether they're lay people or monks, and he's just stating, my state of mind, don't worry about me, because I understand why this is happening. This is more validation. This is why I'm joyful. Okay, cool. Right? The reason is that this world is called the Saha world. Saha meaning endurance. Now, I don't know. I don't know if that's actually what Nichiren said. It makes sense. And maybe Saha does mean that. But I'm feeling that creep of religious bias in the translation here, and I don't want to go there. Because that's a key component of religion, right? Is that we're all here to suffer. And one of the 4 noble truths when Shakyamuni first started teaching was, okay, life is suffering. Take that as writ. But there's a very different motivation in Buddhism, in Buddhist thought, in Buddhist practice, than there is in religion, right? In Buddhism, suffering isn't something intentional. It isn't something imposed on us. It isn't some trial by fire, which is what all religions propose for purpose. That this life is some sort of acidic test to be met so that when we die and it's over, oh. So Buddhism calls bullcrap on that. No. The only reason that life is suffering is because of our ineptitude. Not that we're stupid, but that we're foolish because we're buying into all of the confetti. Woo, party. Oh, I should feel bad about this. No, see, that's religion. Buddhism says you have a hangover. Your stomach feels like crap. There's nothing or anyone to blame for that. You simply have taken the Kool-Aid and irresponsibly drank it, and now you're suffering consequences from your own actions. Now, if you were just enough of a parent, teacher, and sovereign, if your mind was in control instead of your constant appetite for pleasures of the flesh, you could have those pleasures of the flesh responsibly and with forethought and with control. You wouldn't be such a mess. See, in Buddhism, you're in control. And whenever you're experiencing suffering, it's built into your lack of control, your avarice, your cravings. And those cravings, boy, they run deep. They run so deep, they're actually in the DNA, in the molecules, in the atoms from which all of your physical reality and all phenomena are constructed. So don't begrudge it. That's phenomenal. Just learn how to work with it. Here's a manual. You don't have to suffer through consequences. You can simply understand consequences as a logical byproduct of previous actions. It's just that simple. Sometimes it's not pleasant. Sometimes we're not even cognitive or conscious would be a better word of the previous actions that we're now experiencing the consequences of. All of that, you know what that is, right? The energy of potential manifesting, it's just karma. So how do you handle that? Keep that mind of parent, teacher, sovereign awake. So, he says saha meaning endurance. Well, you see what the endurance he's talking about means. It's awake awareness of consequence. Right? You can blissfully go on through life unaware of consequences. That's not a really safe way to live, right? Because you're going to get bit. This is why the Buddha is also called one who can endure. In other words, from the perspective of parent, teacher, sovereign, consequences become, yeah. All right, let's deal with that. Move on. Move on better. Avoid the energies that created that situation. Let's not repeat that again. Right? You sound like a parent. when you talk that way. In the Saha world, there are 1 billion Mount Sumerus, 1 billion suns and moons, 1 billion groups of 4 continents. What does he mean by that? Each one of us, as Shakyamuni pointed out, has our own interpretation, our own life, our own set of freight train of karma, right, that we're dealing with. My tensions and anxieties about this day at this moment, even if I'm sitting right next to you, are different for you than they are for me, just because of my set of reference, yeah? My karmic freight train, amalgams, whatever you want to call it. Among all these worlds, it was in the world at the center, with its Mount Sumeru, sun and moon, and 4 continents, that the Buddha made his advent. Japan is a tiny island country situated in a remote corner of that world, to the northeast of the country in which the Buddha appeared. So I'm not sure why the geography lesson so far, but there seems to be a quantification of quantity rather than quality right now. Since all the lands in the 10 directions, with the exception of this Saha world, are pure lands, their people, being gentle-hearted, neither abuse nor hate the worthies and sages. In contrast, this world is inhabited by people who were rejected from the pure lands in the 10 directions. Now, it's an interesting setup. Rejected, not sure. So, so far, he's reflecting on enlightenment as a potential everywhere. 10 directions, right? That common device of 10 directions. Buddha's from 10 directions. Bodhisattva's 10 directions. Just read that as the universe, or maybe Earth, if you want to be more, planetary about it, right? The continents. Jampudvipa, right? And then there are people who they're not even aware. They can't be bothered. So they're living in their own little karmic reality, bouncing around in there, right? They have committed the 10 evil acts or the 5 cardinal sins, slandered the worthies and sages, and have been unfilial to their fathers and mothers, or disrespectful of the monks. Can't be bothered. Leave me alone. Right? Let me just struggle through my life. I've got this. Right? How many? Can you count them? No. For these offenses, they fell into the 3 evil paths, and only after dwelling there for countless kalpas were they reborn in this world. This world being the world of opportunity, that for enlightenment, that they never confronted before, right? How many times has Nichiren talked about the extreme opportunity, the rare opportunity of encountering this teaching, right? So, yet the residue of the evil karma formed in their previous existences has not yet been eradicated. In other words, just because you discovered Buddhism at age 20, 30, 40, whenever you discovered Buddhism, doesn't automatically wipe out everything that you've experienced or committed to in your life. Every act, 3,000 realms in every single thought moment, every one of those acts of thinking, moving forward, even without gelling into a thought, your actions, right, are imposing, creating a condition, an influence on your momentum, the momentum of your freight train of karma, yeah? Even if you're unawares, doesn't mean you're not acting, not living. That's previous existences, moment to moment. And they will still tend to penetrate or perpetrate the 10 evil acts or 5 cardinal sins, to revile the worthies and sages, and to be undutiful to their fathers and mothers, or irreverent toward the monks. Right? Just because you suddenly became a Buddhist doesn't mean suddenly your mother and father become incredibly valuable in your life. It's going to take a while before you start to find, maybe you love your father or your mother. I'm not trying to say you don't, but I'm just pointing to one such issue. Maybe your mother's a saint to you, but your father was always a so-and-so. And it's going to take quite a long period of adjustment and practice before you start to see value in that man. Or, insert person here, right? For these reasons, then, when the thus come one Shakyamuni made his advent in this world, some people offered him food into which they had mixed poison. Never forget that what Shakyamuni was proposing to people was radical. That people weren't just victims of their world, their environment, their 3,468 gods, their deities. Right? This was India. Still today wrapped in mysticism and magic, right? And along comes Shakyamuni and says, oh, by the way, that's all bullcrap. You're in charge of your life. Take control. Stop whining. You're not a victim. What? Yeah, a lot of people didn't want to hear that. Not only people who were not wanting to hear that, but those people who were controlling the people, right? The wise, the elite. It was easy for them to control huge swaths of people and populace and govern them when they were all scared crapless. Because what's going to hit me next? The gods will... So how is it that the elite, the authoritarians, somehow negotiated with those gods? How were they imbued with all of this strength? Didn't matter. I'm scared shitless. If you tell me what to do, I'll just do it because I don't know what else to do because I'm just low. I mean, this is pathetic. The world is wrapped around that again today, still, in many countries. Oh, my goodness. Others tried to harm him by means of swords and staves, mad elephants, read Devadatta, lions, fierce bulls, or savage dogs. Still others charged him with violating women. Oh, yeah, he's a rapist. Really? Condemned him as a man of lowly status. Wait a minute. He was a prince. It doesn't matter. When people are afraid, anything goes. Or accused him of killing. Right, nobody knows about it, but he's a murderer. We've heard this rhetoric before, right? These people are crossing our borders, they're rapists and murderers and... Those people are scared. They're the ones who are scared. Again, some, when they encountered him, Shakyamuni, covered their eyes to avoid seeing him. And others closed their doors and shuttered their windows. Can you imagine the state of mind of those people? Scared, out of their minds, really. Still others reported to the kings and ministers that he held erroneous views, and was given to slandering exalted personages. Of course they did. He says, we can change our lives. Can you believe that? You better tell the mayor. He's not going to like hearing that. These incidents are described in the Great Collection Sutra, the Nirvana Sutra, and other texts. The Buddha was innocent of all such deeds. It says evil deeds here, but right, when evil is this weird word. Yet this world is peculiar or deficient in that those with this negative karma are born into it and inhabit in great numbers. There's a lot of people with this confused kind of this karmic tendency and conditions to be in fear, accusatory, lashing out, demonizing others. What is that? Now, I have friends who would say, well, that's a result of their survival instinct. Yeah, I don't disagree, but as I've already talked about in other videos, isn't that what we're endeavoring to unearth, clear up, and get rid of in Buddhism? Isn't that what we're awakening, is all those false ideas that we really frighten ourselves with? And we're very creative about it. Stop doing that. You're just creating more suffering for yourself, right? That's what Buddhism says. Moreover, the devil king of the sixth heaven, or the skies and space, scheming to prevent the people of this world from leaving it for the pure lands, seizes every opportunity to carry out his perverse acts. So there's that personification again, right? That habit of people lashing out to protect their poor little fearsome self, throwing accusations and dreaming up stuff about others. In Buddhism, that's identified as Dairakuten no Mao, right? The king of havoc and distorted views. But it's not something else. It's not a deity, for crying out loud. It's our own mentations, the lack of control we have over our lizard brain, right? It's karma. It's karma that has a tendency toward that, and we nurture it, influence it, grow it with every decision, act, thought, deed. 3,000 realms in each thought moment. We pile it on. So we validate it. And the more we validate it, the more we suffer the what? Repercussions. Not retribution, repercussions, right? You throw a rock into a pane of glass, it's likely going to break. Don't be surprised. Right? Okay. It appears that this scheming is ultimately intended to prevent the Buddha from expounding the Lotus Sutra. But in a different way, it's actually preventing Buddha-ness in yourself. That's saying the same thing. The reason is that the nature of this devil king is to rejoice at those who create the karma of the three evil paths, and to grieve at those who form the karma of the three good paths. In other words, those negative tendencies operating out of fear and avarice and greed and survival, which I would argue is a really lowly use of the term. It doesn't have to be that animalistic, right? I would rather survive as Buddha, wouldn't you? But that's not typically the way the word is used, is it? And it delights. I got him in trouble. It delights at keeping this disgusting state of affairs going, because it's dug into samsara, rather than allowing an opportunity for us to go, that wasn't really a good idea. Maybe I should change my mind. No, that's too hard. Right? When in fact, what's hard is your continual nurturing of these negative things. Yet he does not lament so greatly over those who form the karma of the three good paths, but he sorrows indeed at those who aspire to the three vehicles. Again, he may not sorrow so much over those who seek to attain the three vehicles, but he grieves bitterly at those who form the karma to become Buddhas and avails himself of every opportunity to obstruct them. right? It's one thing to realize, feel guilty for your actions. But if you go all the way to the other end of the scale where I am determined to be the best person I can be, to move me away from any of those influences, oh, that spells death to the personage of chaos and messing stuff up and fear and loathing and all of that, right? He knows that those who hear even a single sentence or phrase of the Lotus Sutra will attain Buddhahood without fail, and exceedingly distressed by this, contrives various plots and restrains and persecutes believers in an attempt to make them abandon their resolve. Well, this is a typical story, isn't it? Those who aspire to move their lives in a positive direction, you see it all the time in office politics, in country politics, in friendships, in your family. Everyone vying to be number one. And if you distinguish yourself as somebody who wants to move in this better way of being, there's always, even the people closest to you, those who will just, maybe they just put doubt in your mind. Yeah, well, good luck with that. What a jealous thing to say. What a destructive thing to say. Why would you say that to somebody you purportedly care about? Look, I care about you. I don't want you to feel hurt that when you finally realize, what an idiot you are. When you finally realize, those are great goals, but right, those people aren't your friends. Or maybe they are your friends, but maybe they're scared shitless that you might achieve something that they haven't even mustered the courage to dream about. Right? Because ultimately, those people have no power to change your life. If you let them affect you, influence you, who's doing the changing? Who's doing the real obstacle work here? You can't blame your friends or the people you know or the people you don't know for scaring you out of your enlightenment. You've taken it on. You've bought into it. Dairakuten no Mao. That's what he's talking about. Do you have the singular courage to believe in your convictions? To have confidence in your convictions? To have confidence in Buddha-ness? Because Buddha-ness is happening. Are you going to get on board? Or are you just going to stand there and watch it go by? It's your choice. It's all Shakyamuni was trying to say. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I'm thinking of all sorts of odd terms. All right. Thank you for listening. I hope this made some sense to you. We haven't gotten into the 4 debts of gratitude yet, but you see the setup? Nichiren is, what's he doing? He's exploring karma. He's exploring these different, not mental states so much as how the mental states come about. How do they express themselves? How do they come to control one's momentum of life? Why are these cause and effect momentums put into play when they needn't be there? They're given full reign, right? Doesn't have to be that way. But he's not talking about that yet. He's talking about, in general, lowest common denominator, right? We go the easiest path. We fool ourselves thinking it's the easiest path, but look at the consequences we suffer. in the short run or the long run, it doesn't work out very well, right? Thus, the desperation for escape. Well, you're creating the very suffering that you're seeking to escape. Maybe don't create it? Is that possible? Just awakening to that truth might be a debt of gratitude we owe to our Buddha-ness, yeah? To Shakyamuni for even suggesting for our practice. Maybe that's how we approach our Butsudan when we're at our wits' end. Oh, man. Thank you for even existing. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I gotta get out of this place. If it's the last thing I ever do. I don't know why I think of songs. I mean, chanting is singing, so maybe that's why. Enjoy your practice. Have confidence in it. It's everything. Like, subscribe, grow this Sangha. Those of you who've recently joined in, thank you so much for being here. Please make use of that video on the homepage of this channel to learn how to use this whole resource, the website, all of it. Keep your practice strong. That's all that matters. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Well, take care of your health. Be kind. Yeah, there's other stuff, but with your practice, nothing will stand in your way. All right? Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.